Hello there, you lovely people. Welcome to my channel. I'm so glad you all are here today, and I'm very excited to bring you this topic today because it's something, it's the term that I have been recently learned about, and it is certainly not an issue that's new to me, but the language around it is something that really sums it all up in a way that I think is so good. As I did some more research on this, while I learned about this, I was like, oh my gosh, yes, a lot of this used to be me, and some of these things I'm still working on, and I know for a fact that there are so many of my clients are struggling on these subjects all the time. This is something that definitely needs to be out there, and I'm so glad to bring it to you. So what we are talking about today is something called independence, and we are trying to redefine it. Let's begin. Sunday Reset with Reema, episode 20, Liberating from the chains of unhealthy independence, or redefining the concept of independence. So we are talking about how to escape from the trap of illusion around independence. I have some ideas about the things that you can do to help move yourself away from that unhealthy independence and closer to an appropriate amount of independence. So where do we get so toxically independent from? Of course, it's going to be different for each one of us. The thing to understand is that while some people are naturally more independent, right? It's just our personalities for whatever reasons. Some of us are extremely independent persons, or an extremely independent mindset, or an extremely independent, way of approaching the world. This can be secondary to either having your needs unmet when you are growing up, or possibly from some trauma as well. And this makes sense, right? If the people that you relied on, whether even as a child or even as an adult, if those people that you relied on were not able to meet those needs, then it would become clear that, oh, okay, I have to meet those needs. There could be emotional needs that weren't met. There could be, safety needs, security needs that weren't met, and there are, lot of experiences. Sometimes we start to reflect on things a little bit. We start to realize, for example, if parents were so preoccupied on spending so much of their time focusing on maybe a sibling or another family member who is ill and has a lot of other needs. So the way to be in their good graces, the way to get approval and love from them is to just be independent and to never ask for anything. And that I need for me to just take care of myself completely, even though it would have been completely appropriate for me to ask what I needed the help with. So another example, what I can give off is when I was studying in abroad, studying in UK, no doubt our own country has many great institutions to provide high quality educations, but what it does studying abroad is that it gives you a certain amount of independence. You have gone away from home. It teaches you to be independent and how to live on your own. It has taught me the basics of life, like how to do laundry, how to do the dishes, how to live alone in the month of February when it's cold and depressing and we are alone and dealing with that. So being in UK has made me who I am today. I spend my days discovering who I am, gaining a level of independence which is extremely important in the world we are living today. So it helps me to think better even professionally. So because I'm more used to thinking for myself, I don't know if I would live with our parents and I could do that. So when we first got married, we carried that independent notion of no house help policy, and my husband and I would do all the household tasks. Eventually we started fighting a lot about who's going to clean the house, who is doing more work, who is doing less work, and one of our colleagues suggested is to hire a house help instead of fighting. So what happened is, for me, moving forward with getting some help with some other household tasks, it started to feel less comfortable. And so one thing I struggled with a long time was getting somebody to come and help clean the house for me, because I was so used to doing it on my own. And when I finally got past that toxic independence and decided, yeah, this is something that I would like to rely on someone else for, and then I found this amazing person. She has been helping us for years now, and I love supporting her family and their business. She has just been a great asset to our lives and all of that, because I decided to drop that toxic independence. I should be able to do this myself now. It doesn't mean that, we always have to rely on other people all the time to do the things, but I'm sure that, you can think some sort of scenarios in your lives, and, maybe it's even with the weight loss, right? So where you're thinking like there's really just no reason that I should be getting extra help. There's no reason I can do this all by myself, and maybe that's true, but I want you to open your mind today is about healthy independence and benefits of depending on other people. So people who report feeling most emotionally balanced, feeling more satisfied with their lives, and feeling the most optimistic about the future. Do you want that? I want that. I want to be emotionally balanced, feeling satisfied with my life, and optimistic about the future. So people who report that they have an ability to lead on others and confide in others at times, while also being able to work independently as needed today. So it doesn't mean we are giving up all the independence. We are on our own. We can totally do that, but we also have the ability to get the help we need and finding that balance for ourselves overall. So some of us are naturally more independent. Sometimes we have to think what has created that naturally independence was our coping strategy, the way we adopted our upbringing, or it could really just be us. I think for me that's definitely some of the situations for me that I was just pretty an independent person. But again, we are not trying to dampen that, we are trying to prevent it from becoming an extreme and toxic. So it can feel hard to ask help. Do you find it hard to ask your colleagues for help? Do you find it hard to ask them to come and assist you so that you don't have to stay there all throughout the night? So what ties into this is that often another behavior of people who exhibit this extreme independence is that they also dislike people who they consider too needy. So when your colleague asks for help because they believe that that workload is too much for them, it's interesting to think what are your thoughts. I know definitely you judge them as being needy or that they shouldn't be doing that, and you think it's a sign of weakness. And if you do have thoughts like that, then it would make sense that when you are one who's on service and you wouldn't want to ask for help because you wouldn't want others to be considering you as needy because you are independent, right? So this is a strong thing that you believe in yourself. So interesting how these two things can tie together, right? We don't want to ask for help, we don't want to be seen as needy, and then we judge others who ask for help as being too needy. So interesting. And another behavior pattern of extremities of being independence is that we prefer to do things for ourselves. And again, this doesn't have to be bad thing, but sometimes it can be. I know that I was brought up with a certain mindset of, and if you want something to be done right, then you just have to do it all yourself. While that all sounds good until it's working for you anymore. So until you have a beautiful life and you start believing that no one else can do the things like you, right? So that you have to do it all yourself, so that it leads to another behavior patterns where it's hard to delegate the tasks and responsibilities. Can't tell you how many women I coach in my program who struggle with this so much. So there is this entire generation of women who are drowning in because they were raised with traditional gender roles while being empowered to be independent. So these women still take on all the majority of the household duties while simultaneously killing it in the workplace, but they are tired, they want help, right? That they don't want to do it all yet, but it's hard for them to giving up some of those tasks and responsibilities. Another behavior of being overly independent is being proud to be that workaholic. So really having a lot of pride in yourself, in that you overwork, right? It's so interesting. So really what that is trying accomplishment to your self-worth. If you want to feel good about yourself, then you need to be working a lot, you need to be overworking, you need to be taking tons of tasks and responsibilities, so that you can have those positive worthy thoughts about yourself. For some people with toxic independence, they feel like they have to decide everything for themselves. They can't really delegate out the decision making either. So this could be like maybe you are in a partnership with a romantic partner, and you find that you want to make all the decisions for everything. I know I have struggled this myself. If I let you make that decisions and you choose that wrong, then I'm gonna suffer. So better I'll just do everything. But moving forward, does it really still serve you, or can it be helpful to be able to let other people in to help with that? Now some people with over independence will be intensely private, and this isn't just like being some sort of being more introverted or just like living in some privacy. It really means like keeping people at an arm's length. So people living with this will have a fear about being more open and honest with other people, and someone judge them unfairly for being vulnerable and sharing about what's really going on for them. So I definitely know that I coach people on this as well. People with toxic independence often have a history of personal relationship problems, and that's the story of our lives. But what I mean about this, if you have had some relationship problem in the past, particularly if there are unresolved or unprocessed, then moving forward with new relationships or ongoing relationships, you can find yourself a sort of shutting down or protecting yourself emotionally by staying more independent, which can actually be at a detriment to such relationships. And the next behavior is taking too much responsibility. The final behavior that people exhibit is extreme independence can have an extreme perfectionism and self-criticism. So this is something that so many struggle with, right? So that extreme perfectionism, what ends up happening is it's just a perpetual disappointment, because perfectionism doesn't exist. So then we leave a bunch of things undone, then it feels like there's so much we can't delegate it because we are the only ones who can do it, but it has to be done at an extremely unrealistic high level of high quality of work, and then they are overly critical and demanding of themselves. I know I was working with a client, and I remember it was like week after week after week, so much of what we talked about, like every time I asked her what was her feeling like, and it was like literally 90% of the time she was disappointed as how she felt. So much of disappointment all the time. So here the thing is, when you avoid asking for help, I mean, there's a research that shows that people who avoid asking for help suffer significant social and professional costs. So they tend to avoid valuable help that is available to them, that would make their lives better, because they think it makes them feel needy, or they don't deserve it, or they shouldn't need it. And then when you isolate yourself in that way in order to stay self-reliant, you are at an increased risk of feeling unsupported or worse or depressed. And I know so many women in particular, and those who are in an intimate partnership very often feel unsupported, and they think like, oh, my partner needs to support me more, and maybe they do, but also it could be that we are contributing because of our extreme independence behavior. So the first benefit is lightening your load. I mean, women specifically are tired and exhausted. It's so many responsibilities. So when you allow yourself to depend on others, you create a space to lighten that load. Benefit of depending on others is learning more. When we are open to asking for help, or finding a mentor, or reaching out to someone who maybe has a position to, or career, or to assisting you in some way. So another benefit of depending on others is increasing our effectiveness through collaboration. So some of us don't always have like the most positive opinion of the teamwork. I mean, think about it in the school when we had to do work in teams, and then sometimes it was one or two people who would do all the work, and the whole group would just take that leniency and stay back and sit and do the chit chat. But in general, especially once you confront them and work through that, you are willing to have some difficult conversation, of course, maybe, and really work on getting everybody to contribute. So when you are able to collaborate together, you are able to create so much more effectively. It's essentially like you get everybody coming together, rowing in the same direction, rather than this person who are trying to get that done, and this person who are trying to get this done. So when you think about it, even from a medical research perspective, or so many different labs across the globe collaborate with one another, rather than thinking they need to be doing everything themselves. So they are going on what we bring this to the table, they bring that to the table. When we come together, we really going to be able to pool our resources and our knowledge, and we are going to be able to so much more effective. And then the final benefit of depending on others is just improving the relationships, and this is one that is something that a lot of people, basically when you depend on someone else in a relationship, it communicates trust and appreciation, and overall for humans it increases our health and our well-being. It is kind of the opposite of what we think we are like. Our fear is, if I depend on somebody else and then they let you down, then I'm worse off. But we probably argue that most of them we are going to be better off, but there is that risk. Yeah, some of the time we might be worse off, and we are going to have to adjust with that. But when we really take the opportunity, there's so much that we are missing out on, right? So research shows that balancing independence with a healthy and mutual form of interdependence, different people relying on one another, helps people feel better about themselves in their lives. I mean, who doesn't want that, right? Alright, so ultimately being able to rely on others, being able to be more dependent on others, leads us feeling more empowered and not less. I'm going to say that again because it is important. Being able to rely on others leads to feel more empowered. So what do? We have to start working on doing the opposite of what comes naturally to us, right? So we are going to have to start practicing choosing small things. So another way of working on this is just asking maybe someone in the office for some help. If there's something, a task that you are doing that someone else in the office could do. So in that way, you realize you will be so much more efficient, that you will eventually be able to improve your productivity. Notice the discomfort that comes up with. Work through that and see how it turns out. See what ends up coming from that, and over the course of time, you are going to see the benefits definitely. Sometimes quickly, sometimes it might take a little bit of time. Some relationships are going to have to shift a little bit, because people get so used to you always refusing help that they often have no longer provide you the help anymore. That doesn't mean that they are not willing to help, but it means that they might be surprised when you actually reach out to them. So there can be some adjustments that needs to be happening here, but it's all for your own benefit. So let's work on relieving our own self from our unhealthy extreme independence. I know I'm going to keep working on it, and I want to encourage you all to do the same. The impact of extreme independence can be detrimental. It can lead to increased stress, feelings of loneliness and isolation and burnout, decreased productivity, strained relationships, and an overall sense of dissatisfaction. It is important to note that independence itself is not negative. Healthy independence involving some self-reliance while also recognizing the value of independence, collaboration, and seeking support when necessary. It's about finding a balance that allows for personal growth, self-care, and understanding that it is okay to ask help and rely on others at times. If you resonate with the characteristics of such extreme independence, it may be beneficial to reflect on these underlying reasons driving this behavior and consider seeking support from trusted individuals or professionals who can help you cultivate a healthier relationship with independence and interdependence. Alright, my friends, have a great rest of your week, and I will talk to you next time. Take care. Bye.